clear through our system, and then they go into the rest of the country with that disease. We see a lot of measles, a lot of chickenpox, a lot of unidentified illnesses that a lot of lung infections that we have no idea what they are.
So the state police have just started following us. We get hassled for being out here. We're just talking to, what was her name, Alma down there?
Alma.
Yeah.
Alma Garza.
Where are you headed?
Just out.
Just understand that you'd be trespassing if you get out to the
Okay, so we can't go anywhere in here at all?
trespassing to get to the U.S. government.
Okay. All right, well, we'll stay out of there. Thanks.
¿Y qué hace?
News or journalists
Ah, sí. I already told them.
Okay.
Yes, and they're from Honduras.
from Honduras.
Mhm.
How long have you been traveling?
¿Cuánto tiempo llevan viajando?
Un mes, vení caminando.
¿Un mes?
Venimos
A month.
cansados, ya queremos agua y tal, levantamos.
They've been traveling for a month now.
When
Yeah.
did they get into the U.S.?
¿Cuándo llegaron a los Estados Unidos?
Ahorita,
Acaban de cruzar.
sí, estamos aquí.
Sí, they just crossed.
Well, 1 in 5 people that we catch has some type of criminal history here in the United States. On top of that, we only catch 40% of what's coming across in this area. So that's 20% of what we catch are known bad guys. You can only imagine what the other 60% of people that are coming across, who they are or what their plans are. We have no idea. The interesting part is they're not staying here in the Rio Grande Valley. A lot of these folks are using it as a waypoint to move forward, whether it's the people themselves or drugs. It's all going through the area, and it's going into larger communities like the San Antonios, the Austins, the Dallas, all the way up to Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Chicago. They're all headed that way.
Last night, and before we know it, 2 state wildlife fish refugee people or whatever pull up, detain us, and then we had to sit up and wait on another federal agent to come in who is a federal state and wildlife officer. They took my 2 firearms, my 2 Springfield 1911s. They took Zimmerman's gun,
Springfield XD.
a Springfield XD that he had holstered. He has his concealed carry permit and open carry, all that on him. I left mine in the car. And so we're being questioned for being out there. And our whole thing is like, hey, man, the police just escorted us out here. And literally they sent us down there and then left and screwed us over. And now the federal agents detained us we've been standing out in the freaking sun for the last 2 hours being questioned about stuff. Do what?
So hot, yeah.
So hot.
Oh, it's like 100 degrees outside, and like everybody's on the verge of about ready to throw up because we have no water. Luckily, towards the end, at the end of the ordeal, they finally gave us some water.
Allie, what was this like? I mean, we go down to the border pretty much every week with some of our crew. I guess your first time down there, and then all this important news you were gathering, and you were operating as an interpreter with a lot of the folks, and the Border Patrol's meeting with you, giving you info, and then here comes Obama's Fish and Wildlife people to grab you and kidnap you guys. What was this like?
Well, Alex, it was very new to me, for sure. I usually come down to McAllen and do some shopping with my family or something. Super simple. I've never been in the front line, so this was a great experience for me personally, being Mexican and looking at everything that's happening in the border. So when we first got here to McAllen and we first talked to those people who were crossing the border, the Honduran people, and they told us that they just crossed and they seemed scared and something really bad happened and stuff. So when I was talking to them in Spanish, they didn't seem like worried that we were there or anything. So that really surprised me first, because when they talk about crossing the border, it's always like super dangerous and stuff like that. But I can imagine what they went through before, but coming into them and then just walking in and being picked up by the Border Patrol, it just seemed like they had it easy. And me, I work hard to get to where I am. I'm legally here and everything. And I don't know, it's just very surprising. And then the next day, obviously, you want to get more information and take more B-roll and talk to more people. And we get surprised by this attack that Joe Viggs was talking about. And at first, I feel safe when I'm around with Michael Zimmerman and Joe Biggs. They know what they're doing. They've been out in the field. They love what they do. And I felt 100% safe with them. So I had no worries that when these people came in and started telling us to put our hands up in the air, I was not afraid. I kept calm, relaxed, because the worst thing you can do is obviously confront them, and they
well,
can...
sure, you're not in the wrong. They're the ones that are going to get in trouble now. And it's a great point. You are been a college student in RTF. You're from Mexico. We just hire folks that are smart and hardworking. We love you. You've been here, a while, a couple of years. And, she's a great asset to INFOWARS. They make it so hard for you because we've got to jump through some hoops to have people legally that are good, hardworking, smart people here. But then if you just want to wander in from China or Honduras or Islamabad or wherever, you just come on in and we load you on a bus and you're into the country. They want to it's just crazy. Why do you think they're doing that?
I feel like when you're smart, or when you do the things, when you do it right and you go through the protocols to have a visa and stay here in the country, you are under watch. And when people come in illegally, I feel like they overflow people, and they don't know what to do with them. And Mexicans or Hondurans or illegal aliens come in, and they know that they have it good. They don't have to worry about being looked at for 5 years, or they don't have their names on a list being watched. And that's what I feel like is going on right now. It's like eyes are on me.
That's right, because you're here legally, and our crew are citizens here legally. You're being treated like crap because you comply.
I'm Margaret Howell, Infowars.com. I want to talk to you about robots today, specifically mall cop robots. How would you feel if you went to your local mall and found a 300-pound security robot guarding you, following you around, talking to you, basically like a glorified security camera? Now, these are on the horizon. One of them made its debut this week in China. Now, this K5 300-pound robot that walks the mall and talks to you, it's made by a company called Nightscope. This is what they had to say about the impressive security details that it has. It patrols with a geofenced area using its sensors to alert security professionals of potential threats. Each machine has a 360-degree high-def video for both day and night, thermal imaging, two-way audio and public address, an intercom to broadcast just in case you're breaking any mall rules. The robot's going to tell you to stop it. People detection, just to name a few of its attributes. One of these K5 bots is currently policing a mall here in the States, as well as one in China, making their debut this week, getting us acclimated into robots actually policing us. Now, no word yet on if these robots have developed an employee union, if they're receiving benefits, if they lose power, if they misbehave or commit some sort of work infraction. But what we do know is they're being employed in malls. They're hitting now this week from a company called Nightscope. Now, these robots, they have no organic matter in them. They're not human. They look lifelike. They talk to you, but they don't actually have any human material in them. There's a company called BAE, and they're making an unmanned aerial drone, a military drone, out of organic matter. Now, this is coming out of engineers from the University of Glasgow. And these unmanned aerial drones, they're made up of organic matter grown in large-scale chemistry labs. Now, they're making these drones from the molecular level up. They're using something called a chemputer. It looks like chemistry and computer, the word combined. And it's going to be able to enable a chemical process to grow aircraft through some of their most complex electronic systems. You heard me correctly. We're talking about a piece of electronic equipment with organic matter that's actually growing it. Now, these new organic drones, they're going to be flying at a pace that would allow them to outperform any adversary missile. And we're talking about military drones that would in fact be targeting people. So machines that are part organic would be killing people in a battlefield instead of sending soldiers out. That's the ultimate goal of BAE, their systems developing this human-like drone. Now, speaking of human-like projects, stepping this up, taking robotics to childbirth for a moment. Now, there's a process that was developed called ectogenesis. It's the growth of an organism outside of someone's body, namely an unborn baby growing in what looks basically like a lab jar. Now, these artificial wombs, as they're calling them, will need an artificial uterus that supplies nutrients and oxygen to an unborn baby, and its custom-built amniotic fluid sacs will also need to be removing waste. So they're growing babies in lab jars, taking this a step further. And they're doing this with a placenta machine. These cables and monitors, they look into the baby's heart rate, weight, and development, all as it grows outside of a woman's body. And this technology, it's removing the need for a surrogate. That's what they're claiming they're doing this, that women are not going to be needing a surrogate anymore. If women can't use their own bodies for whatever reason, we've got a lab that can grow you one in a lab jar, and this is how we're going to do it with these bioengineered engineered babies through this process. Now, the scientists that developed this process, they've been looking at this since 2001, and these previous experiments, they were growing mouse embryos in wombs attached to placenta machines, but they've taken it up a step further, and now they're developing human embryos in these machines. This technology, they say, it's going to be ready to use in 20 years. Widely available in 30 years, and the technology experts are saying that more than a third of babies in the next 70 years will be born this way. If that's not troubling, I don't know what is. Human trials are being delayed for now, but that's where they're headed with these lab-grown babies. You don't even have to have a baby anymore if you don't want to. You can just pay a scientist to have one for you. While some robots are creating life, others are destroying it. I'm talking about Tesla, and they've experienced their first death by a self-driving car, a robotic car, coming out of Florida. A man named Joshua Brown, 40 years old, behind the wheel of a self-driving Tesla Model S car that was driving him around so he could watch Harry Potter. It actually decapitated him when the vehicle collided with a trailer truck and killed him. The car assumed it was going under a bridge. It actually went under a tractor trailer and decapitated Brown as he was watching his movie. And this is the first known death that we've had from a self-driving vehicle. Now, Tesla is saying that it would be impossible to watch a digital movie while the car was driving, that the autopilot was activated. It suggests that autopilot is safer than the average vehicle, that people really can't be trusted to drive their own cars, and that these automated cars are going to eliminate deaths. This was just a mechanical failure of sorts, a rarity, the first known death that we've had from a robot driving a car. We see the rise of machines and technology just wanting to make our lives more convenient, safer, using drones with organic matter so that people don't have to do the killing, having babies outside of wombs so women don't actually have to carry their own children, and you don't even have to drive yourself. But with all this new technology and convenience, what exactly are we giving up? Well, now in other news, a typhoon is headed for Taiwan. Category 5 storm, 200-mile-per-hour winds, one of the heaviest storms the world has seen this year so far. We're talking about a massive typhoon. They're naming it Napartak, which means warrior in Micronesian. It's the third storm this year to reach a Category 5 with wind gusts inside the typhoon that's been recorded to reach up to 201. Now, this is going to hit late Thursday evening, our time, early Friday morning, their time, and it's already churned huge waves and heavy winds on their coastline. Ground fishing boats and commercial ships and planes, they've all been evacuated. Nobody's going into Taiwan. Nobody's going out. Now, Red Cross volunteers are standing by. We know that people are getting ready to experience the after effects of this typhoon. It's also going to hit the Chinese coastline. It's going to pass through, hit Taiwan, and then head on to the Chinese coastline. Now, they're not going to receive the damage that Taiwan is expected to receive. Their wind gusts are only going to reach 115 miles an hour, but the heavy rainfall is likely to cause severe flooding, severe death in low-lying areas. In much of the country's southeastern coast, it's already saturated from record amounts of rainfall this year. So typhoon heading for Taiwan, and Red Cross volunteers are standing by. But as of now, everything's been evacuated that can be, and we know that nothing's going in and nothing's going out. They're bracing themselves for this storm to hit. I'm Margaret Howell reporting for INFOWARS.com.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for tonight's broadcast. The INFOWARS Nightly News will return, Lord willing, tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock p.m. Central. Don't forget to check out the Alex Jones Show, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central. Have a good night.